Joining us right now with more on all this is Aneesh Chopra. He's the former chief technology officer at the White House under President Obama. He's currently president of Care Journey. Good morning to you, Aneesh.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We've had this big debate. It's been going on around this table for quite some time and is going on in the public square, if you will, as well. Some people think actually it's not happening enough in the public square. Do you think that First Amendment rights have been quashed or otherwise blocked by this communication, if you will, between the administration and these technology companies?
Look, my personal view is that we want to have more open and free speech. But in the midst of the public health emergency we went through, there was a moment where we needed to have a bit more understanding of a new threat that hadn't been understood, and that is the rise of disinformation on social media. So I don't begrudge decisions that were made in the past. The ruling just sets guardrails so we have clear perspectives about what to do moving forward. Give guidance, provide expert judgment, flag content, but maybe not go so far as to say this must come down, you must remove this account, and so forth.
And so, but what do you think about the idea of preventing that kind of communication between an administration, and we'll do this on all political sides because you also saw it from other parties as well, communicating with the technology companies?
Yeah, the root cause of the problem here is that we didn't really honor up Section 230, the sword and the shield. We gave folks a liability protection on social media platforms for the content that runs through their systems. They were supposed to step up and have some efforts to mitigate harms to society. What this is really a symbol of is that the frustrations in the black box of content moderation, viewed by both sides of the aisle, frustrates everybody. And to some degree, that feels like a problem of the past as more and more of the content moderation practices move to this evolving concept of standards-based and to some degree more open.
But what's the answer then? We've talked about transparency. For example, should every communication, and frankly, by the way, every communication, at least over email and the like, that goes from an administration to a tech company or anybody else, typically can come out later in a Freedom of Information Act. But should it be immediate? Should people see the dialogue that's happening behind the scenes? And by the way, is transparency always the best disinfectant? Are there times where you'd actually want to be able to make that phone call? We've talked about it in the context of reporting in journalism. For better or worse, I've gotten calls from all sorts of administrations trying to bend my ear on any particular issue. And then, of course, it's up to hopefully myself and the organization and institution to try to do right.
Yeah, transparency in this case is of the algorithms that address content moderation within the systems themselves. Because once those become more understood, then professional processes can be put in place. So look at cybersecurity, one of the charges in the original ruling that was struck down by the appeals court. That was the notion that on cybersecurity flags, if something is seen as a national security risk, CISA, the federal agency that's tasked with making those communications more routine. They don't require White House involvement or emails that say ASAP. These are structured, formal communications that's got process and transparency as to how the platforms respond. Many of them take actions immediately to mitigate security risks. And so we want to move towards more of a rational form of communication from federal agency with accountability on the platforms. But that requires the platforms to have a bit more clarity as to what the input is that they want and how it feeds into their algorithms. The Twitter decision or X's decision to release their code open source makes that a lot easier. Let's see how the other platforms address this issue of transparency. So you don't have to deal with the pick up the phone, there's some urgent issue, something's not working quite right problem. That's a yesterday problem. We've got to move forward.